I suppose I still haven't worked out an intro, but I suppose we should start like every other podcast starts, where we pretend that we haven't just been talking for the past 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Hello, mate.
Hey, mate, how are you?
I'm good. How's things with you? You've a bit's happened since we last spoke.
Yeah, bits been going on. The weather up here hasn't been great this week, but it's getting hotter up here, and yeah, you look pretty cold where you are.
Yeah, it's we've had little glimpses of sun over the last couple of weeks, but overall it's still hoodie weather, let's say. But things are okay. We're hopefully a couple of weeks out of being let outside into the real world. We've I don't even know how long it's been now. I've lost count. It must be getting close to 10 weeks or something. Gem's been on quarantine for the past week and a bit. She treated a COVID patient a couple of weekends ago, so she's
my God.
She's been on house arrest. I had to quarantine until day 5, but after that, I was released back into the wild. Well,
wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, as wild as lockdown gets, I suppose, which is just to the office and back every day.
Well, I saw this week on the news, people are camping in their tents outside because there's no places to quarantine, or, they can't quarantine inside the house because they have their family or whatever they were doing, and they were literally pitching tents. So
it's so...
I mean, that's weird.
It's so strange what the rules are. I think they've just changed, or they're just changing, but for some reason, after the 5th day, even though I live with Jem and, I sleep next to her every night. If she's sick, I'm sick, right?
Yeah.
For some reason, after the 5th day, if she's okay, then I'm allowed to go out, but she's not.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Like I totally get the 14-day thing, but it's sort of, and I'm very grateful that I can go outside now.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, if you're actually worried about her getting sick, then doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Let's
hopefully a year from now, our lives will be different. So
yeah, well, that's what we all thought last year.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
So yeah, what's been happening? What are we covering today?
I've got a few things I want to talk about. I do want to hear a quick summary of your own wedding, because you're a wedding photographer, and I do want to hear a little bit about that. Today we're going to talk about. I'm basically going to bombard you with questions about Sony, because I'm a pretty new Sony shooter, and I've got some gripes. I've got a little bit of a bone to pick. I've already decided on the title for this video. It's going to be something along the lines of Confronting Curtogram Sony Photographer, or something like that.
I'm happy to dive into anything.
I want to talk a little bit about Sony Color, for some reason, why I'm struggling so badly to edit Sony files. Why? Maybe it's the camera that I have, but the screen on the back of my camera is garbage on the A7 III. It's trash. Anyway, I've got some questions I'm going to ask you. Just before we get into that, tell me what happened with your wedding. How was it? Run me through. You're on the other side.
Our wedding was meant to be a year ago. Got postponed due to COVID, and we had another go at it. So Cara organised everything to be postponed to this year, and then we got a couple of weeks out, and Brisbane actually went into like a mini lockdown, which kind of scared us a bit, and we decided to actually change from the larger number that we had to a smaller number, and then we put it over 2 different dates. So we had the ceremony one week and then the reception the week after, purely to, I guess, decrease the numbers, and if we actually got locked down one week, we still might be able to pull something together, the alternate week or whatever that kind of scenario was. So It was actually a really cool experience. You know, we've shot weddings for a number of years now, and I feel like we just really appreciated the day, you know, and we understand how, you know, the bride and groom must feel on the day, because we are so prepared when we go and shoot a wedding. But then when it was our wedding, I had no idea what I was doing. You know, it was like I needed someone to guide me or direct me through the day, because it was just it really did go so quick. And I know everyone says that, but that's what I felt. You know, it was and it was exciting as well. You know, every night Cara and I share the same bed, and then next minute we're not. And I guess I hadn't seen a wedding dress. You know, I hadn't known anything about it, and it was just. Yeah, it was the best day of my life.
Fantastic.
Her walking down the aisle, and I was just like, holy shit, this is real. You know, I feel like, I don't know. It's just such a big moment in your life. And it's just cool that we got to finally do it. And the way we did it was cool as well, that we split it up. So we kind of got to party 2 weekends in a row, which was a little bit selfish on our, behalf. But everyone was on board with it. And it was great.
And it also sounds like doing it that way, you've just removed so much of the stress of a wedding.
Yeah, exactly. And even though we did do it smaller, it was still kind of stressful. You know, there's just so much that goes into it. And probably if we had our time again, we would employ, a professional wedding planner to kind of take care of a lot of those things, because we put ourselves under a lot of stress due to work as well up to the wedding. So it was like we had these deadlines that we had to get out, and it was just stressful because we were still trying to do the wedding and just have a life. But it was a lot to put on our plates, but we smashed it. So we're out the other side now.
Like everything else, I think, in your life, Kurt, you committed to it and you made it work. So congratulations. And I'm so thrilled for you guys, especially with, I think overall in Queensland, you guys have been pretty lucky with the COVID situation, but to have a little bit of a scare, this close after being so good for so long, I'm sure it was stressful for Cara, if not for both of you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not easily stressed, so I was still pretty casual about the whole thing, but I think she was stressing a bit, just with the potential that it could all get shut down.
Yep. And you had, is it Daniel who shot the wedding for you?
Yeah, so we had 2 photographers. One was Millie Tang, and she does a lot of kind of venue stuff, around bars, and then she does a lot of portraiture, mainly with females. And then we had Dan, who also shoots weddings. So both of them are good friends of ours, and it was really tough for us to find, I guess, people that we could trust. Initially, I wanted a guy in Melbourne, and that wasn't going to happen because he couldn't get up here. And then I also inquired with a girl in Texas, a few years ago, and she definitely can't come. Yep. So, for us, it was like, okay, who can we trust, and who actually is in Queensland?
And I didn't actually realize that you did it over 2 weekends. I've actually been pretty much, I've deleted social media. I've got it on the computer. I can check it on my laptop, but I've been pretty much off for the last month or so. And, by the time I would get around to checking in, I would see all of your photos at once. So I actually didn't realize it was over 2 weekends.
Yeah, exactly.
It just looked like one beautiful special day.
It's like a week long of content. No, that's cool. How's your time kind of away from it, really? Has it been productive, or is that the aim for this, or what was the aim to go rogue?
I just think I'm about 25% happier. Haven't really been missing out on anything. I don't post a lot. I know I should post more, and In some ways, it's
But that's
good.
the thing. Should you post more? Like, does it really matter? And if you're 25% happier, then yeah, like I don't know. I think social media is a big. It's a weird world, right? So without it, I feel like, if we go away or something, and I leave my phone, down for 2 days, you kind of forget that you actually felt like you needed it.
Yeah. Yeah, the scariest thing is when, especially for the first few days after I got rid of it, you pull out your phone and you've unlocked it, and your thumb goes to hit the place where the app was without you even realizing, and that's pretty terrifying. That it's not just a habit; it's literally muscle memory. That as soon as you're in a position, you're standing in a line, or you're in an elevator with someone, and your hand, without you controlling it, reaches into your pocket, opens up your phone, and you go to press Instagram, and it's not there. That was really spooky for me.
Yeah. And you would have noticed it a lot. It it really is a habit, and I think that's something that I think I'm always trying to work on is before bed, just I don't need to be on it. And even in the morning, like I used to wake up and it would be, I'd open Instagram. Who the hell is on Instagram at 6 a.m.? Like, yeah, there's people overseas and stuff, but what possibly can I get from that or achieve? I don't. Yeah, I've really tried to limit that, and at least wake up, and if Kara's awake, give her a kiss or actually greet her in the morning rather than turn on my phone and start scrolling. Like I feel like it's a really bad habit, and it can't be any good for your relationship.
Yeah, well, last time we spoke, we sort of talked a little bit about habits and morning rituals and routines and that sort of thing. And I have to say, since then, I've gone completely psycho on that stuff. I've gone like I've turned it up to not just 11, I've turned it up to 100. I don't want to talk about that today, but yeah, I'm just doing everything I can right now to be the best person that I can be. Perhaps just as a little bit of a I sort of want to make some separate content about this, but as a little bit of a interesting tease for anyone listening, I'm about to step down my hours a little bit and dedicate at least, well, it's looking like 1 weekday a week fully to just go hard with the channel. So
it's awesome.
It's looking like, well, I'm hoping it's going to be, I'll work Monday to Thursday at my 9 to 5 photography job, and then Friday, Saturday I'll go ham with the channel and try and scale as quickly
ramp it up
as I can. Yeah. Anyway,
that'll be awesome.
Let's crack on. I mentioned just before that I'm a pretty new Sony shooter. A couple months ago, I think we spoke about it last time. Partially inspired by seeing how you shot my wedding. I thought, fuck it, it's time. I'm going to sell out of Canon and buy into Sony. And I did. And overall, I've been really enjoying it. There's like so many benefits. Obviously, just the video blows out of the water anything that I had before with my Canon kit.
Yeah. I think also for that price range as well, it's really hard to get something that is that all-rounder. True.
Yep. And the autofocus has changed my life. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm really struggling to edit the Sony RAW files though. I don't know if it's the color space. I don't know if it's that I don't know how to expose properly yet, because I know typically with my Canon kit, I would slightly overexpose everything. Yeah. And I don't know, maybe you can give me some advice on that, but maybe you can't actually, because I think you've pretty much been Sony since day dot.
Yeah, I did shoot the 5D Mark III for a little bit, maybe about a year or so. And it is a different method of shooting, purely because of the EVF, the electronic viewfinder, and the optical on the Canons, the older Canons anyway. So I feel like when I was shooting Canon, I was always just aware of that exposure, and the light meter.
Yep.
Whereas with Sony, I forget about all that, and I just feel so confident because I can see it in my screen. So the difference between, say, your A7 III and some of the cameras that I have, like the A9 II or the A7R4, is their EVF is actually a higher resolution, you know. So it might just be those little differences. But as far as like editing and color space, I wonder, it'd be interesting if you, say, borrowed a Canon, right? Took 50mm, took the photo, and then just did it on your Sony as well, and then just tried to edit the same image and then see what you kind of come up with. Because I know that, it definitely, they are different color. Are you struggling with skin tones, or is it shadows, or like what do you feel?
It's a bit of a tricky situation because I've probably done, let's say, a dozen jobs on it since I've picked it up, because we've been in lockdown, so there's been very minimal that I can actually shoot, and the stuff that I have shot has been like commercial property or small amount of product. I've done some furniture, bits and pieces that are not super talent heavy, I guess you'd say. So I haven't had a chance to shoot too much actual skin. I've done a little bit of portrait, did some band shots, did some stuff for my dad, but I guess I don't have a big sample size to choose from, is what I'm trying to say. But for some reason, I don't know if it's, I have a feeling it might be a combination of things. I think first of all, the color space is different. I think anyone switching over will tell you, obviously the classic thing is Canon is the go-to for portraits, for shooting skin. I think that's generally been accepted for quite a long time. I find the Sony files a little bit more perhaps on like the green or yellow sort of side for that sort of thing. And I find even, I wouldn't do this for skin, I wouldn't do this for portraits, but in Capture One, sometimes I can push saturation to 100 and feel like I don't have enough color in my Sony files.
Yeah. Holy. I wonder.
Yeah.
But you're not taking your photos in log, because that can be a mistake as well. If you have a picture profile on,
not on RAW, though.
Still affect the RAW. No, it would still come out RAW. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm wondering if it is because perhaps I'm still overexposing a little bit, like I would on a Canon RAW file, because on Canon it was so comfortable and confident that I know exactly how much I could pull back. So I knew that if I overexposed just a little bit, I could get cleaner shadows, but I could still pull back a little bit in, like, let's say a sky, because I know what the limit was. Where
I think it might be the opposite with Sony, to be honest. Like if you shoot a little bit underexposed, you're going to have a better chance of recovering the shadows and then the highlight. Yeah.
So I suppose
I haven't done too much research in it, but I do know there was I've heard a couple of cases where people who shoot Sony are underexposing, and I was like, well, why don't you just expose correctly? There might be something behind that,
I mean, I suppose if you're shooting slightly under, then there would be more color in the shots, because there's more. Every tone has more black added to it, right? That's how.
Yeah.
That's how the exposure works, essentially. So that could be it. But also, I mean, one thing that I've noticed is the RAW files just blow the DSLR. I can't speak to the new Canon cameras, but the old ones that I used to shoot, they blow the dynamic range out of the water. There's like, it feels like, 50% more dynamic range, I would say.
Yeah, which which should equal more color saturation. You know what I mean? You should be able to push it more. Yeah, that's interesting.
You mentioned the EVF having high resolution. Do the screens on the back of your cameras look good? Because I have to say the A7 III, the LCD is a piece of garbage.
Yeah, it's unfortunately every Sony camera shit house. On the screen is just not really anything to go by. Even if you pump up, manually the brightness, like it still doesn't give you that Canon feel. I remember, a few years ago where I was shooting with a mate. We're just out in a rainforest shooting some stuff. And I just remember looking at the back of his Canon screen and it just looked so damn good that
Vivid, yeah.
like my heart kind of dropped out of my chest and I was like, oh shit, is he like, not that he's outdoing me, but I was like, man, they look so damn good.
Yeah.
But then when we got home, it was like, my RAWs were just so much better.
Yeah.
And but it's real. You can't. That's why I think every time I want to review an image properly, my eye's up to the eyepiece and I'm press play and I look at it like that. I'll never review it on the back of the camera because you'll get the exposure wrong or highlights will be blown out or whatever it is. Like it's the only time I look at that is for settings, just to double check my settings. Which is kind of why I wish Sony actually had that top piece like the Canon does, and I know that the Fujis do as well, they have that, the H1 has it on top. So I just think it'll be nice to have. But
I totally didn't even think of that, the top LCD or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
I just it did not even occur to me that's been missing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, now you're gonna hate me now. You'll never unsee it.
To be honest, I think just because it's been like I'm a pretty when I say big guy, I'm pretty skinny, but I'm a pretty tall guy. But I got pretty big hands, so it's been a bit of an adjustment to hold the mirrorless body.
Small Sony,
So I suppose, but I guess if you've got the digital EVF, then you don't really need, your face is pretty close to the camera if you're going to be reading anything from that little top screen, isn't it? So I suppose you've got all the information in the EVF.
Yeah, I think it's exactly, So there probably is no need for that, really. But
it is such a shame, though.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I could easily not use the screen for review, but actually all the studio stuff I shoot, I don't have it up to my eye. I have it away from my body and I use the back screen.
Yep.
And I turn off the live view display. So it actually reads like an optical viewfinder.
Yep.
So you could actually do that with yours as well. You could make it optical.
So it's not showing the settings, it's just showing the scene, right? Is that what you mean?
No, it wouldn't show you the correct exposure. It would just show you like you see with your eye, like optical, rather than you can switch it on to be the electronic viewfinder, which means it would be displaying when you
what the settings are,
shutter or whatever. It'll display that.
Yeah. I do. Yeah, I've found that as well because especially if you're shooting with strobes, it's going to be. Yeah. It just doesn't work. I was just about to say something about the EVF, but it has slipped my mind. So what sort of percentage are you shooting tethered then? If you're doing those sort of shoots, you said you're looking at the back of the camera, or are you shooting to a laptop?
Back of the camera, always just for framing. I just feel like when it's too close to my face and I'm doing that studio kind of stuff, I'm kind of obstructing my kind of view a little bit. I don't know. Whereas if it's a bit further away from my body and my posture's like better, which is better than me hunching over all day. My posture's better, and I can just kind of, I see a lot of photographers when they're a little bit taller than the subject or whatever, they're actually tilting the angle of the camera, which means, it's not really ideal.
Your perspective's off.
Exactly. But I tether every single time I put a light on. Like there's no way I'll shoot without tethering these days.
Yeah, well, the advantage of the tether is, like we were just talking about, the LCD is really bad. Is that what you call the screen on the back, the LCD? I can't remember.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I miss, because I feel like one strength that I had, particularly, quite a few years ago when I was shooting, let's say, like a lot of band promos. At the time, I think my point of difference was not many people were shooting with lights. Sigma 35mm natural light photos. That was the meta, right? Whereas if I can set up, a little portable strobe or whatever, and underexpose the background and shoot a cool band photo, and then you show it to the band on the back of the camera, or whatever the client is, doesn't have to be band. They're like, oh my God, that looks insane. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So it does bother me a little bit that if a client wants to have they're over my shoulder and they want to see what I'm shooting.
Yeah.
It doesn't look that good on the screen. Yeah.
No, I agree. Maybe not to us, but probably to them, it's still, if you were shooting at 2.8 or 1.8, they still think it looks cool anyway.
Yeah.
But as far as overall image quality, it just doesn't. Yeah, I agree. It just doesn't look as good as it should.
I really don't understand, because I feel like Sony would be making some of the best screens in the world. I feel like Sony televisions, they're some of the high-end shit. It's not, we're not talking Hisense or TCL. Yeah. They're like expensive panels. So I don't understand, because it just wouldn't be for someone who actually makes the screens. It's not like they'd be purchasing them from another company. It wouldn't be that much to put. No. Think about how good the screen is on this.
Yeah.
And
I know. It confuses me why. Like even little monitors can't really emulate what your iPhone can or your Android can. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Just chuck it. It's half the size. Like, just make it work.
Yeah. Back to the product stuff, or the studio stuff, I suppose. And by the way, thank you for being such a good sport and taking all of this as if I'm complaining, as if you're Mr. Sony Corporation.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll just ring the boss. Yeah. I'll file the complaint. Yeah.
Thank you for letting me confront you. The other gripe that I had is I really like that. Sorry, it'll pop up on my screen. I really like that on the back of the camera, it's got the spirit level, because it did have it on Canon, but when do you ever shoot live view on a DSLR? Like, never.
Yeah, but also didn't it come up, but it was a black screen, so you couldn't even see, or was it actually over the
Actually,
image?
I can't remember. That's a good question. I
remember it, and it looked like a level on like what I've seen on boats and stuff. Yeah, it was real.
Yeah, so
on the Canons,
it might have been on a black screen because you don't shoot with
live view
anyway.
Yeah.
Regardless, I never ever used it on the Canon, but it's very handy on the Sony. But here's my but: it's way too easy to get it level, and it stays level even after you tilt it.
A little bit, yeah, I know. It maybe needs to be a bit more accurate.
Yeah.
Because I use it a fair bit as well, and then sometimes I'm like, that doesn't look as level as maybe it should be, So.
Yeah, it's like within 5 or 10 degrees.
Yeah,
is just in, and for me particularly, it's pretty important because I shoot a lot of commercial property, architecture, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
and
it needs to be right.
It makes a big difference if you've got, if your cameras are straight. Sorry, your photos are straight out of the camera, because it means you've got more frame to work with later. You don't have to correct as much, and you don't lose any resolution. So that's another little gripe that I've had.
We're recording this, right? I can send this straight to Sony. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got some connections, don't you?
Yeah. Straight to the big guys.
Let's get some product development happening.
Get a better level, get a more accurate level, and get a better LCD.
Yeah, I mean, how hard is that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here's one for you because you are a bit of a gearhead, and I like to talk about gear, and I like to think about gear.
Yeah.
I've just bought into the Sony system, obviously. We're pretty much opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of the sort of lenses and stuff that we shoot. I know you're pretty. You recently got your 24-70 G Master, but for the most part, you really love.
Yeah.
You're pretty fast primes. I've got the 24-70. I've got the 16-35, and I just have a little cheap 85mm 1.8.
Yeah.
Sony.
Yeah. Is it the Sony one? Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, that thing is good for the price.
I haven't even had a chance to use it yet, but Jim got it for me for my birthday.
That's awesome.
But I just wanted to know, from your professional Sony opinion, what should be next in the kit for me? I do feel like I want to have a standard prime, like a sort of mid prime.
Yeah. Honestly, it really depends on what you're shooting, because my most used lens is my 24-105.
Really?
Which is, it's one of the cheaper lenses, but it's the fastest autofocus, and I'm just shooting at f8 all the time anyway, because everything I do in studio. So it's fast for studio stuff. It gives me that little bit more range, at 105. Like, it's so noticeable just to go past the 70 to go to 105. Like, it really gives me so much advantage. So if that broke, I would just literally replace that. So that's my most used from week to week.
Interesting.
And so which is why I don't shoot my 24-70 G Master in studio. It's slower and it doesn't have the range. But yeah, if you're not doing studio stuff, then I wouldn't worry about it. For you, I think probably, it's big bucks, but that 50mm 1.2 would be a lens that I feel like you wouldn't want to take off. It's Sony's newest lens, and it's crazy good. I think that'll be the next purchase for me. Would be the 50mm 1.2.
For the money, is it worth buying that lens? It's about $3,000, isn't it?
It is. That's the thing. I guess you'd have to justify using it, because the 50mm 1.4 was a Zeiss lens that they made. That was within the first couple of years of the E-mount system.
Yep.
And optically, it's just not as good. So I feel like any G Master lens is just such a big investment. If you are doing it professionally, or if you're a gearhead, you're kind of going to look at those pixels or just that out of focus kind of blur or whatever it is. But it just sounds like you've kind of got everything in the bag. The only thing that I would probably add would be a wider kind of thing if you're doing a lot more commercial stuff. I have the 12-24 Sigma 2.8, and that lens really surprised me.
Yeah.
It was, the cost of it was so much cheaper than the Sony. The Sony one is something like $4,000 or $5,000. For the similar lens, I think it might be 14-24.
Wow.
And then Sony make the 14-24 or 12-24, but it's a f4. So
yes.
Yeah. I just think
is that what you mean?
Yeah. No, Sony make
I didn't know that.
versions. Yeah, but they're just super expensive. So I think that's kind of what puts a lot of Sony shooters off is probably how expensive some of the lenses are. Which is why there are the other options like Sigma and even Samyang have a fairly good range now. So and a lot more affordable as well.
Do you have do you own your long lenses, or do you just borrow them when you shoot golf?
So I just borrow them off Sony when I shoot golf.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I can pretty much just grab any lens that I need at any point in time.
That's awesome, man.
They have the 400 2.8 and 600 f4 maybe or something, but they're pretty rare, and they're like usually in circulation in Australia somewhere else, so it's like every time I ask, I'm like, oh, can I have that 400 2.8, it just seems to always be somewhere, it's
Someone's
at
got it at the tennis
event,
yeah,
or it's at some, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, they're like, you just want to play with it on the weekend, like, that's, yeah, we can't ship it. So
yeah, okay, yeah, because as much as I'm going to invest a bit in the channel. I don't think lenses will be my top priority, but as much as I love, I'd love to get a 35 and a 50 mil just for fun, for portraits, for just all round pretty photos. I just keep thinking, if I just get a long lens, if I just get a 70-200, then, I don't have anything super fast or sexy, but I'm just covered for whatever I want to do. And even in the studio, just that lens is so useful. And I booked a wedding. Starting to book a couple of weddings, so trying to decide where to go. But you're giving me something to think about. Thank you.
Yeah, I think a 70-200. I don't have one in the bag just because I sold my old one and I just didn't really need it, week to week. The only time I will need it would be weddings, or, the golf season is like, December to, March or something. So that's when I kind of put one back in the bag. But I'm kind of lucky that, I can have one available. But yeah, I feel like the 70-200, it's a great lens, but I'd maybe just wait out, because surely something's got to be released within the next 6 months to a year, like an upgraded version of that Sony. So the F4 is awesome, but if you could get one of them secondhand, it would be pretty, for $1,000 or something, it would be well worth the investment.
Yeah. I feel like I would get so much use out of that, because a lot of what I do, like on a weekly basis, is lifestyle for, commercial property or for developers or that sort of thing, where there'll be, let's say, like a new apartment building going up, right? So I'll have to walk up and down Chapel Street and find trendy people outside sipping lattes outside cafes and photograph that.
Yeah.
Or like...
and you don't want to be in their face.
Yeah, so at the moment, they really like the wide angle shots because it makes you feel like you're there, right? So at the moment, I'll do something like, I can set up, the 16-35 is so wide that I can set up on a footpath and I can catch people in the tables and chairs on one side and then coming in and out of the shop on the other side. So I can just sort of wait and then trap people as they walk through. But I feel like it would be so handy just to be a little bit more voyeuristic and have a long lens and just sort of blow it out of, blow the background out a little bit. I feel like that would be really handy for me. Let's start to wrap this one up a little bit. Do you have a tool of the week for this week while we're talking about gear?
Tool of the week.
Something that's...
It would be...
Do you remember?
So I have this little Leatherman tool, right?
Yeah.
And it literally has like a flip knife on it, and then a Phillips head, and then a flathead screwdriver.
Yeah.
And yes, it looks pretty dangerous if I pull it out because it's like literally a switch blade or a flip knife,
Yeah.
But I only really use it to just to tighten up, camera stuff or whatever it is. So I feel like Small Rig actually make a better tool that I should probably buy that has proper camera size, like Allen keys and whatever it is. I think that'd probably be worth it. It's probably I think it's like under $50. So, but at the moment I just use the one that I got.
Is yours a Leatherman brand?
Yeah, Leatherman. Yeah. I've liked the Leatherman brand since I was a kid, but they were always so expensive. Even now I'm like, I can't justify paying like $350 to $500 for this fancy gadget. But I
actually used to have one, and it was in my just all-purpose fishing kit. And it's supposed to be stainless steel, but the salt water just
it rusted.
Fucked it up. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they have lifetime warranty.
Yeah.
So
well, this was years ago, but just like, yeah, it was you couldn't even open it. It was so crusty.
Yeah.
My tool of the week. I've been getting a lot of value. I've got these little small LED tubes.
Oh yeah, the Pavo tube.
The Pavo tube. Yeah, they're not even like I think it's Nanlite is the brand.
Is that what they are?
This is just the 6C. It's like 25 centimeters or something. It's pretty small.
Good size. Yeah.
Do you know what is so cool? They're magnetic, and you can just stick them on anything. They're so handy. I got a couple of these, and I absolutely love them. I've just been sticking them in the background of my videos for, like they call them like practical lights.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait. I just can't think of enough things that I want to use them for. I can't wait to just go out and shoot stuff, like let's say at night in town, and just like
stick them everywhere.
Stick them on somewhere and get someone to walk past. Then it's like you're faking some cool ambient light.
Yeah.
I just keep picturing like I don't know. Do you guys have a Chinatown in
Yeah.
Where in Melbourne there's just all these beautiful sort of neonish lights in all the restaurants and stuff, but it's never really as bright as you want. So I just have this idea of finding a good spot, but then like faking it a bit.
Yeah.
I can't wait to use those. That's my tool of the week though.
There we go.
Mate, that's going to do us for this one. Thank you for jumping on, and it's been good to catch up because it's been a little bit of a while in between.
Yeah.
We'll do it again soon. Is there any final thoughts? Anything you want to leave the episode with? Any inspirational quotes?
Yeah. Sony.com. Go get a camera.
So just before we do wrap up, what is your relationship with Sony?
So pretty much they have a couple of tiers of things that are like, ambassadors or stuff like that. But the only catch with if you are an actual Sony ambassador, you have to run, I think it's,
workshops,
10 to 20 workshops a year, so, and you'll only get sent out, you can get sent out, 20 bodies or whatever it is, but you have to kind of be informative and that kind of thing. So I'm not technically a Sony ambassador or anything. I just have a good relationship with them, and they've always helped me out. So, I don't know who else kind of has this relationship or whatever, but yeah, I'm definitely lucky. And, anytime a new product comes out, I'm, hear about it and get the inside scoop. So,
mate, that's awesome. Thank you. Like I said, thank you for taking all my criticisms in your stride and allowing me to confront you. And mate, that sounds awesome. Like gear aside, it's probably not your cup of tea, but even just like, I don't know if you remember, Neil Walters was doing a similar thing for Canon and running some of their workshops. I reckon that'd be a sick job.
Yeah, it just depends, because I know money's not everything, but you probably get $2 an hour and half a cup of coffee. So sometimes you just have to weigh up, what your options are and if it's actually benefiting you. Yeah.
All right. On that note, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this content, please, if you could gently caress the like button, it helps a lot with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't already. I don't know if I'm going to put this on Spotify and all that.
Don't know. YouTube's pretty good. Just leave it on that.
Yeah, well, that's where my audience is. Anyway, drop us a comment below. Let us know what you thought, and we'll see you next time.